and point in time to try and make your point. Now, usually it's very difficult to make your point because everyone's like self-conscious of whatever everyone else is thinking. So I'm gonna try bring out the points as best I can. And how about this? If you want, well, that's not going to work right now, but if you want at any point in time, feel free to send a note or afterwards also. I think that the point needs to be that any question that a person has needs to be addressed. There should never be a question that anyone has that they feel is secret and they can't get onto it. In Judaism, Pesach coming up soon, we believe that there's 4 children and each one has a different type of question, and there's 4 different types of people. And some people have Chacham questions and Rasha questions and Tom and Einei Da'alish. Hey, and most people have all of them. One day you're feeling that way, you got the Tom window open, then you got the Tom window open, and the Rasha window flips very quickly. And then it's like Einei Da'alish, I don't know. So, given the topic that we're talking about, which is anxiety versus Emunah versus anxiety, that's what I want to address. Does this concept resonate with anyone? The question is like this. You know, sometimes like, do you ever feel that the world seems to be falling apart? I mean, like, it really feels that way sometimes, like there's like a world war which is looming on us, and it's not even funny. Like, at any point in time, it could really amount to that, and it could get to that. And when you're sitting and listening to it, it's like, oh my, it feels like the whole weight of everything is weighing against me. And then when you add to that the things going on in everyone's personal lives, could be very challenging. Very, very challenging. And sometimes it's so challenging and you're embarrassed to tell the person next to you that you actually are so anxious that mind. Ever had that experience? Like, there's fear from all sides. Like, you know, little me is basically fighting against multi-billion-dollar companies whose sole purpose it is to sow fear and anxiety in me. That's called the news, in case you didn't notice. The news is not news sites. It's entertainment. And it's designed to create a story. And they take little things that are happening. They'll never tell you that someone, you know, had a baby. That's not news. But if someone was mugged, that's news. So if one of 20 million people, whatever we have here living in New York City, was mugged, you know, that's scary. And you read that, and now you get scared. And somehow, even within the news that we have, in little groups, you hear everything that's going on. You know, I made a resolution. I don't look at the news. I don't watch anything except for one little thing that I have. It's called WhatsApp. And on this little thing that I have a group, and it's a class chat. Class of 94. We went together from Eretz Yisrael to America. It was like all the group of guys, and my friends, my classmates are all now, they were until last week, a whole bunch of them in Ukraine. They were running, you know, each one running his little rabbis all over there. And suddenly they were all just forced, and I'm getting this front seat of the war without even being present and without watching the news, and you get like straight there. And it's scary. And if you add to that this whole anti-Semitism thing going on in the world today, that, yeah, it's not fun anymore. Even in America, to be Jewish, you got to lock the shul, and you got to have God sometimes, and everything else. And every so often, there's a shooting, there's a terror attack right here. Scary. Very, very, very scary. How are you supposed to be normal in that sense? And the problem with being normal is that you're not allowed to really tell anyone that you're anxious. Right? So you have to like hide it inside. And it's all over. Can you imagine if we take ourselves, zoom out, and go back? What if you were living in the times of Purim? But I don't mean at the end with 2020 hindsight. I mean if you were living before, right? Before the miracle happens. So you don't know there's a Purim story. You have no idea that a Purim story is going to happen. And you're sitting over there living, and what do you feel? Let's just try and live in those times, right? Before, and feel what the Jews felt. So suddenly this fellow called Haman, we don't know where he came from, but suddenly, out of the blue, for no reason, he sends out this decree. Talk about anxiety. The decree to annihilate every man, woman, and child. For what reason? Nothing. Just because you're Jewish. Now think about it. The day before, the Jews were as excited as you could ever get because they got this queen in the palace. Achot lanu bebeit hamelech. They said we have a sister in the palace. And this sister, we don't know, right? If she's, she's not telling anyone she's Jewish. We all know, secret, that she's Jewish. One of the reasons they didn't know, right? Because every nation claimed that she was theirs. But the Jews knew the truth. They knew she was Jewish. So she's inside the palace. If anything goes wrong, it's great. Then Haman makes this, Achashverosh makes this feast. Invites all the Jews to come to the feast. They come to the feast. What happens? They felt like $1,000,000. They felt like the Jews are finally accepted as a nation among the nations. That's what it felt like. And they felt amazing and incredible. And what happened? Like right away, the next day, or shortly thereafter at least, Haman comes with this new decree. Everyone's going to be annihilated. You want to worry about anxiety? They were scared. They were petrified. And there was one Jew. And his name is Mordechai. And this Jew, if we follow what he did, we can do the same thing today. So let me just put this out there. We don't read stories. We're not people who sit in a shul and take a Megillah out and read story time. Very cute story time. That's what happens when you're way back then. But we don't read stories. What do? We are about the present. We want to read the Megillah and the story of the Megillah as something that is current and happening now. So what's happening now? What's the Megillah story as it's happening now? You got to learn the actual original story and follow from there to see how it's going to be applicable to us. So Mordechai enters the scene. And what does he do? His claim to fame is Lo yichra v'lo yishtachve. He doesn't bow down. He's not willing to bend anything for any moment. If we can take the power of Mordechai and internalize it inside us, we can actually see incredible miracles. Now, everyone's got a Mordechai inside them. I had this once, this lady came to my house. She came with her husband and with her 3-4 kids. And she was like a bubbly, incredible kind of a person. She came inside, she was a Baal Tshuva. So she grew up in Tel Aviv. And she was Yemenite, Taimani. She grew up in Tel Aviv, and she became frum much later in life. She describes the whole process, how she became frum. It was like an incredible story. I'll tell you one little segment of it. So she says one day she's in Upper East Side, and she's in a designer store, and she is the person running. She's like, she's Jewish, so she knows how to get her way up, and she becomes the chief designer of the store. And she says, I'm making, I don't know what the amount was, she was making like 80% of her money was being made on Shabbos. And the rest of the week. And it was just like a total 7-day work week. Like you work, and you never, ever get to stop. Like no stopping. It was just crazy. All the time working. So she's like, I can't do it. And one day she went on a retreat. A 10-day retreat. This retreat was, I think, in Maine, somewhere around there, in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. And you have this guru, this guy, who sits over there, like from the Far East somewhere. He sits over there. The rule is a 10-day tiniest dibur. You ever did a tiniest dibur? No speaking. 10 days, 0 speaking. Not to say a word. So there's a guru who sits there. He's the only one who's allowed to speak, and that's it. And she describes, she says, sitting down, and there's like 100 people in the room, and everyone's doing yoga exercises. There's no avodah zarah being done, nothing which is in any way idol worship. At least doesn't look like it to me, she says. Except for one thing. At the end, when it's over, everyone's kneeling down. What you do is you're supposed to kneel down, and when it's over, you bow down, not as an avodah zarah. You just say thank you. Now, how do you say thank you in their language, in Hindu? You say namaste. She says, looking around the room, not religious at all. Everyone bows and says namaste at the end. She's like, I'm not bowing down. I'm Jewish, right? I don't keep anything, but I don't bow down. I don't know. I don't know what this is. We don't bow down no matter what. So every day, the whole place goes down. 100 people go down. She's like this. She's not bowing down. She says namaste, thank you, but no, quietly, not at all. But no, nothing. She looks around the room on the second day of this happening, and she wants to see, is anyone else doing the same thing? She sees at the other end of the room, one person there and one person at the end of the 10 days. Finally, you can talk. And she says, where are you guys from? What do you think the answer was? The other 2 people, Israel. Jews. The other 2 were also. There were 3 Jews in the room, and every single one of them was not willing to bow down. She's like, that was my first encounter with Judaism inside me. Now, here's what we're going to do, okay? We're going to try. Find a way. First of all, one second. Does anyone relate to this problem, or is it just me that has this issue with this anxiety? Anyone? Let's try the other way around. Does anyone not have the problem? And one second before you raise your hand, be absolutely genuine, because I'm going to ask you how you get to it. No, it's fine if you do. But is anyone feeling fine all the time? Like, never worried. I'm good. Everything is amazing. Just amazing. All the time. Never feel any anxiety. Anyone? No one raising their hand? Can you think why that is? How come we got quite a few hands raised up of those who are going to say about anxiety? Anyone? What's different about this generation? Why do we have this going on nowadays? Do you think like 100 years ago, people in the shtetl were as anxious as we are now? Why? What's going on? What? Exposure to? Media. And most people here probably don't even have official exposure, right? What? Officially. So how come we're exposed? So how come we're exposed anyway? You live in that society, right?
We're not living in a shtetl. We're living in Oregon.
Right.
We don't have that. Yeah.
So how do you think it seeps in and affects you?
Because we're timid.
And therefore? Has any come from Emunah? Okay, can anyone define for me what Emunah means? Right. So how do you do that? How do you recognize that everything's from Hashem? Did you ever try it and does it work?
Look at nature or look at the good?
Look at the good in your life.
Look at everything else I'm created.
So let's try this out, right? I'm feeling very, very anxious, right? No, I'm not right now, but let's just say. Let's say that I'm feeling very anxious. I'm not feeling anxious right now, by the way. The door's locked. There's like if any terrorist wants to get in, they have to get through the lock. We're good. The back door maybe is open. Okay, so I'm feeling anxiety now. So let's try this out. Let's play it out, because I want to know if it actually works. Not what you say works. I know what we say. Of course you need to have Emunah. I want to know how you do it, practically. And if anyone's actually tried it, to share with us. So you're going to think that Hashem created the world, right? Does that work? And then you're happy?
No.
But it's true that you shouldn't have anxiety because Hashem created the world. So why do we anyway? What? We're human. Big problem. So how do we solve this human problem? Anyone? Has anyone found anything that actually works? In other words, we know we want to get Emunah. Do we all agree we want to get Emunah, right? The question is, how do we... You talk about Emunah. Okay, let's talk about Emunah. How do we... What should we do? Let's have an Emunah discussion. What? Okay.
This is what Hashem did for me today. This is what he did a different time. Even though now I don't see that it's good. He was good that time and that time, so he probably would do this.
So something scary is happening now. What you're saying to do is to think about what happened. Right? You know what I think? Yeah?
When something bad is happening, obviously it's good to like look at something like, oh, I was happy yesterday, so I should be happy now. It's not easy to just stop and be like, okay, fine, like it's hard, but like I'm happy because of something that happened.
Right.
It's not.
Why is it hard?
It's easy to say, but it's not to do it.
Why?
It's just not doable. Like,
Your brain is not working normally when you're anxious.
When you're anxious, your brain's not working at all. Isn't it true that when you're anxious, like, is it here that you're anxious? Or is it here? You ever feel your heart like goes... But yesterday, Hashem was, I remember what happened yesterday was amazing. And your heart's like, I don't care. It's more a question of how to make Emunah an emotion. Right? It's a practical question of how do I bring down Emunah? Emunah we know we need to have. The concept we know. But for some reason, you don't need to know how to get anxiety. There's no manual to get that. It just works. When you want to counteract it with a feeling, right? That's the problem. So think about it as a feeling game. The question is not how to have Emunah. The question is how to feel Emunah. Yeah.
That's it. Like when I was really scared during like Corona, like I would just think of like Hashem being like the father, and then like I wasn't so scared, but like my father would do, then like I know he's like I'm his daughter, so like, it's more like.
Very good. So let's just run your thought process there. You're sitting in the middle of Corona. You're anxious, maybe because you're scared. You're all alone. You're all by yourself, locked up. Can't go see friends because who knows what's going to happen, right? And the world's kind of like falling apart. And even though you can see them on Zoom and whatever, but still, right? The world seems to be falling apart. So you're feeling the fear, right? So what you say, Will, you're saying, I think my father. And then you added something else. And then I was thinking about my own father. Right? And how did that make you feel? So you were thinking maybe about a time when your father made you feel calm?
No, like that. Like I'm his daughter and he loves me. Like he's not like take away from the situation, but like on a separate note that I have this type of connection with him more than just like I'm real.
Was the key word there love? You felt the love that a physical father would have for his daughter. And there you were able to extrapolate and get from that to a love that Hashem, who more abstract father, has for us, correct? So you're doing feeling. Very good. Yeah.
There's a story that there was a plane in very dangerous turbulence. There was this little girl, she was not Jewish, but she was staying calm and just coloring all the time. And after they asked her, why were you calm and why were you coloring? She said, because my father's a pilot.
Right. So, yeah, my father's the pilot, and he's running this world, right? Great. But what we want to do is take that every time from the world of intellect to the world of emotions. So the key here is the idea we have. The question is, How do we flip it from one into another? Now, you know, the name Mordechai, he's the hero, one of the heroes. So the Gemara wants to know, how do you know Mordechai? Like, where does it say Mordechai in the Torah? And the Gemara answers, Mordechai is Mar Deror. So the Mefarshim explained, there's this animal, it's called the Yadua. Yadua is an animal, you know what Yadua is? Yidoini, you ever heard of Yidoini? In the Torah it says you're not allowed to do Oiv and Yidoini. What's Yidoini? It's a type of animal they would use, and they would take the bone out of it, and they would bring up dead people with this animal. This animal, if you shech the animal, it has blood in it. And there's a blood which congeals in a certain groove, in a little space there. The blood congeals. And if you take the blood that's in that groove and you take it out, you can actually make it, you can process it, and you can make it into a perfume. And that perfume is one of the samamonim, one of the ingredients of the Ketores. The Ketores in the Beis HaMikdash. One of them was this Mordechai. So the Gemara says, what's Mordechai? He's someone who can take this perfume, which comes from a non-kosher animal, and he's actually able to transform the perfume to such an extent that it becomes kosher. And by the way, Rabbeinu Yoinu is one of the Rishonim 1,000 years ago. He paskins, and you can not only use it as perfume, you can also use it as food. You're allowed to eat it. The blood is able to be eaten because it's so processed, it's so different to the original blood, and it's actually kosher. What's Mordechai? He's the power to take something which is totally asur and treif and transform it completely to the point that it becomes kosher and even, according to Rabbeinu Yoinu, edible. In other words, the Mordechai idea is that if we can figure out how itself and transform it into positive. So we're not going to try override it. We're going to use the actual negativity to transform it into positivity. Okay? Now, I want to discuss a thing, well, how Mordechai did it. What did he do? He did something that's called davening. Now I'm going to ask you an honest and genuine question, off record, if you don't mind being off record. Does anyone here find it hard, difficult, sometimes, to daven? Does anyone find it easy and amazing to daven?
Sometimes.
When is it amazing to daven? When what?
If you're really thinking.
When it's hard?
When it's either very hard or very good.
Okay, so you're saying basically either when it's very hard or very good, that's when it's amazing to daven. Because you're desperate and it's incredible to have someone to talk to. Right? God is like
It's very good because you just want to think.
either to thank Hashem or to ask him for, Do you ever find that davening, let's say you're in one of those positions where you really are desperate, is actually causes anxiety? Because when you daven, you're begging Hashem for whatever you need. So it brings out all the anxieties. At the end of davening, you might feel worse, not better. No problem? Feel good? What? Beautiful. Okay. So when is davening born?
On a regular
Why is it boring?
It's not boring, it's just harder.
It's boring.
Like a lot of words. And in a
Even
foreign
though I know in
language.
English, it's still-
Right. Guy told me once he was in shul here, Rosh Hashanah. He's a 15-year-old kid. So he told me, he said, I was davening and I didn't understand the words. So I took an English machzor. I found an English machzor, switched to the English on Rosh Hashanah. He says, and then I realized after a little while that now I really don't understand. Because until now, I didn't understand because it was the wrong language. Now it's in the language that I speak, and I don't know what's going on. So I decided to pull back to the Hebrew machzor, because at least then I understand that I don't understand. So it's like. So I want to share with you a little observation about davening. There's two parts to davening. Let's take a typical Shemona Esrei, where you're asking Hashem for something, a whole bunch of asks, like Refo'einu Hashem v'nirov. Someone's ill, someone is sick. Hashem, please help this person to be cured. Baruch Aleinu, we need parnasa, we need money, right? A whole bunch of these things. There's a request. You're asking Hashem to do something. And then at the end of davening, at the end of each bracha, something else happens. Now, this is a key to making davening a little more real, okay? Davening is not only asking Hashem to do the work. Davening is finding the power in yourself. Davening is essentially this: taking the Emunah, which is an abstract concept, bringing it right down to earth to make it real and palpable to me. Now let's try to do this, okay? I'm going to go back to Mordechai and see what Mordechai does. Now, the people are full of anxiety. They're very scared, and they're about to be annihilated, God forbid. What he wants to do is switch, number one, the mode of thinking of the people. He wants to find Hashem inside the people. So note, what he's going to do is ask Hashem to help us, and also ask the people to help themselves. Because if Hashem is revealed inside the Yehudim, inside the Jews, then everything goes okay. So imagine that. Hashem wants two things. He says, I'll do the work, and I also want you to discover me inside you. Here's how you're going to do it. He says, okay, let's start davening. Mordechai gathers 22,000 children, and they all get together in the base medrash, and they start praying to Hashem. They were davening, beseeching Hashem, we're about to be annihilated. Please, Hashem, help us, right? That's a request to help. The medrash says that Mordechai walked over to 3 children. They were coming out of the Beis HaSefer, which is a school, a cheder. Goes over to 3 kids and he says, this is as soon as Mordechai heard the Gzeira, it says he heard the decree. Haman was watching as Mordechai goes over to these 3 kids. Anyone know the story? What did he ask the 3 kids?
What did you learn?
What did you learn in yeshiva today? And the reason he wanted it was because children give you a prophecy. So he wants a prophecy from the kids. He goes to child number 1. He says, what did you learn today? What did he say? Don't be afraid of any fear. Mishayas became a word for the Holocaust. Don't be afraid of any Holocaust that might come. He says, yeah. Child number 2, what did you learn today? By the way, the children have no idea about the Gzeira. They don't know about the decree. So it's like a little prophecy they're learning. Child number 2, what did you learn? What did he say? No matter what you say, no matter what counsel you take, it will be annulled because Hashem is with us. And the 3rd child said, Hashem says, I'll be with you forever. I'll carry you forever. Mordechai turns around. He says, looks at Haman. He says, we're good. I just got a prophecy. Everything's going to be amazing. Mordechai did 2 things. A, he davened to Hashem. He beseeched and he prayed, Hashem, help. Please, God, help us. That's number 1. After he did that, he said, now I asked Hashem to help us. The next part I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Hashem out of me. How do I do that? How do you bring Emunah out? Hashem resides inside each and every one of us. He's right here. When you daven to Hashem, you ask Hashem, please, Hashem, cure this person. And the next thing you do is you gather confidence and absolute security and knowledge 100% that Hashem is here and everything is okay. When do we say those 3 psukim? Open up a siddur. Every davening. These are words that are added onto the davening. after Aleinu, Val Kein Kavalecha, are the 3 psukim which Mordechai asked the 3 kids. Never allow yourself to walk out of davening without those 3 psukim. Because these 3 psukim, you think, okay, I'm finished, close. Those 3 psukim are the hardest part of the whole davening and probably the most important part of the whole davening. Why? What are those 3 psukim saying? Now what? Hashem. Whoa, 1 second. That Hashem is in charge. But don't be scared. It's giving you work. Those 3 psukim are the hardest part of davening because when you walk out of davening, you're like, okay, I asked Hashem to help me. Hashem is going to help me. How do you know Hashem's going to help you? Who said Hashem is going to help you, right? How do you know Hashem's going to help you? What's the answer to that question? How do you know? What? But he also sometimes, but he made a Holocaust. Hashem Yishmael. You ever heard of the statement of the Tzemach Tzedek which says, Tracht gut, vet sein gut? You know what that means? How do you think good? Think good and it will be good. What does it mean, think good?
Don't be scared.
It means like this. If you want things to be great and amazing and awesome and unbelievable and unreal, what you have to do is think it. Not think that it's going to be good. I don't know what's going to be. Hashem's going to make it be whatever he's going to do. What I'm going to do is think right now, feel the absolute goodness of Hashem. Davening is going to give a lot of work to do. Heavy work. Ready for some heavy work? Here's what it is. The end of davening, those last 3 psukim, are the 3 psukim that Mordechai asked the children. And then Mordechai went into the base medrash and he got 22,000 students and they started learning Torah and they started davening. And they were beseeching Hashem to help them. That's part 1 of davening. And after they are praying from the bottom of their hearts, they say, okay, now I'm not leaving this davening with a sense that Hashem is not with me. I have nothing to be afraid of. So when you feel anxiety, let's daven in a short moment. It's okay to feel anxiety. Who's the problem? Don't say, oh, you yachts, you're feeling an anxiety. You're such a person, you feel anxiety. What's up with you? There is nothing wrong with feeling anxiety. In fact, secret, you're lucky you feel anxiety. Do you know why? Anxiety is resistance. Something which is blocking you. Is resistance good or bad? Do you want to have resistance in your life? Why, yeah. What? Well, let me ask you this. Let's say you want to get up. Can you tell me how to get up? What's the mechanism of getting up? What?
Go and scratch.
Yeah, but how do you actually get up? There's a process.
You use the muscle on your
How do you stand? Right. You go. So let's say you stand on the wall, you're out of space. If I want to get up and I'm in outer space, how do you get up in outer space? You can't, right? Why?
There's
no one fighting you. That's why. If you want to get up, you have to take a floor which fights you through gravity. You push like that and you get up. The process of getting up is finding resistance, pushing against him, going the other way, and then you get out. Right? If you want to get close to Hashem, there has to be something blocking you from Hashem. That's how you get close to him. Because otherwise, I'm just a human being. I can't get close to him. Anxiety and all negative midos, what they are your best friend. It's like amazing. When you feel anxiety next time, think about this. Let the heart pump racing and feel it. Wow, this feels bad. I'm anxious. You felt it? That's how Mordechai felt. When Haman sent out a decree. He felt real anxiety. Now that you feel it, walk over to your 3 little children and say, Kindalach, what do you say? They're going to tell you, Al tira mipachat b'say. You have nothing what to be afraid of. Before you try not being afraid, go into the base manager and daven to Hashem. And say, Hashem, let's just say someone's ill. I need Hashem, please, for Einu Hashem and Rafa, help cure this person. Cure. I need this person. Baruch Aleinu, with no money at home. We're davening for money, whatever you're davening for. When you finish each bracha, every single bracha in Shemona Esrei, what does it finish with? Baruch Atah Hashem. What does Baruch Atah Hashem mean? What? I'm going to give a translation for Baruch. What's the English of Baruch? Is bless, right? But what does bless mean in my language? Right? What's bless? What does bless mean? Anyone? It's an English word, right? Bless. Can you bless me? If I say, can you pick up that tissue box? Do you know what that means? Right. Can you bless me? Yeah, bless you. You know, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yishmael, he goes over to, Rabbi Yishmael goes over to he met Hashem. So he says to Hashem, Hashem says to him, Yishmael b'ni borcheni. What does that mean? Bless me, but he's Hashem. What do you need a bracha for? The word baruch. What's this called in Hebrew? This thing. Baruch. Blessing. Funny word to call your knees. Baruch, Baruch is the same word. The exact same letters. Why is your knee called your Baruch? So I want to suggest a new translation. Okay? Try this if it works for you. I do it all the time, and it changed my whole davening. I stopped using the English siddur because English is very limited. The original Lashon Kodesh is very powerful. And every time I say the word Baruch, I think what it means. Why is your knee called your Baruch? Because the Baruch, if I'm standing up and I want to get down, the Baruch, the Beirach, knee is what brings me down. Baruch, bring down. Try daven, and every single time you make a bracha, say bring down. Make brachas in the morning, bring Hashem down. How do you bring Hashem down? What? Do you know where Hashem was never before? Ever. He's never been there before. Where? In you. He's never been to you before. You're a unique human being. Nobody ever made, you didn't exist before. You are one of a kind. You're absolutely and utterly one of a kind. You didn't exist until now. And the new day you have now is brand new. Isn't that amazing? And Hashem says, I want to be in you. That's why you make 100 brachas a day, because your day is awesome. There's 100 opportunities at least every single day to bring Hashem down, feel his presence every moment. And all the time it's like, wow, I found Hashem. So let's try and make a bracha now. Hashem, please, I know someone who's sick, who's ill, who needs a cure. Please, Hashem, cure her. Please. The whole refrain was a please, a request. At the end of the request, what do you say? I am confident, Hashem, that I'm bringing you down. I feel bringing you down into this cure. I ask, and I'm confident of results. Ask, and I'm confident of Hashem's goodness and presence every single time. What's amazing about davening is, if you want to get rid of all anxieties, you can't start it in the moment of the anxiety, right? It's not going to work. You have to build a connection to Hashem. How do you build a connection to Hashem? Hashem says a secret. Hashem says, I don't do things myself. I can do anything, but I don't want to. I want you. And I'm not doing it unless you join me. sorry. And you're like, Hashem, you can do it, not me. And he says, if I'm Hashem and I can do anything, and here's what we're going to be doing. You are going to be doing it. Isn't that crazy? And here's how we daven. The reason why we feel anxiety more than any other generation probably in history, based on what we have today, is because this generation is the ultimate, most incredible generation. It's one before Mashiach. So it's like, we're about to bring it down and make it happen. Bring the house down. We're like about to make it happen. How do you make it happen? So all the negativity in the world comes up, right up, and it says, here, change me. And you have the power to change it. Let's try it out now in real time. I have an anxiety. I feel that the world's falling apart. So my heart is racing. Don't run away from the feeling. Don't do something else to like numb the feeling. Whatever, go take a cold shower so you shouldn't feel anxiety. I don't know. No, feel the feeling for a few minutes. Let yourself feel it. And then ask Hashem to help you. Ask him to help you. Hashem, I'm worried that the world's falling apart, that my life is a shambles, that who knows, whatever's happening. Be honest. I'm really, really, really scared. And you can actually talk to him, not chakras. This is in the middle of a day when it's happening. Talk to him in English. Say, Hashem, I feel the world's falling apart. I'm really, really scared. And this is bothering me now. And you know what, Hashem? Like you guys said, right? I know yesterday you were with me. I remember something that things happen and amazing. But Hashem, I feel that I'm bringing you down. How do I know that? Because tracht gut verzeihen, because I'm going to do it. I'm going to feel Hashem's presence right here. Does anyone have a 2-year-old at home? Ever see a 2-year-old at home? Ever see a 2-year-old make a temper tantrum? What's the solution to solving a 2-year-old's temper tantrum? What? Distraction. That's one way.
Don't give them allow.
What?
Don't give them attention.
Don't give attention. What?
Wait.
When I'm out in fatherhood, so one day, one of my kids I was at home babysitting, and the kid was throwing a ruckus. The kid was just going crazy, a 2-year-old. I didn't know what to do. So I was trying to bribe the kid. First, I offered every candy in the world. I said, I'll give you chocolate, I'll give you candy. If you stop, I'll whatever. And then I'll take you to park. I don't know, what else would you like? Nothing was working. The kids screeching on top of their lungs, and kids, they don't stop, and they bump with their hands and everything. The whole body's like jumping up and down. And like, I didn't know what to do. So I started the counting. I'm gonna count to 10, and by 10, you better stop it. 1, 2, 3, you get to 7, like, okay, 7 1/4, 7 1/2, 7 7/8, and it's not working. Nothing. The guy told me once, he was screaming at these 3-year-olds doing that. He started counting to the kid. So the kid looks at him and says, Abba, I want to stop. I don't want to stop. He's like, oh, wow, didn't think of that. Maybe the kid needs to help to stop throwing a temper tantrum. So my wife came home a little bit later, and the kid was still in the middle of a temper tantrum. She saw the kid there. You know what she did? She picked her up and gave her a big hug, put her down, leg kepi, and it took about 30 seconds. And the kid was fast asleep. And I was like, magic. Adults, certainly teenagers, when you throw a temper tantrum, right? That's what anxieties are. We learn a little bit of an advanced temper tantrum. What do you really want? Isn't what you want just a hug? Just like, show me that you love me and you care and you're present. You know who's the best? Not a person, but whatever, to give you a hug? Hashem. That's what the word Baruch means. It means I feel Hashem's coming down. I feel that he's giving me a hug. I feel Hashem's presence right here. So it's a virtual hug. What you want to do is experience the hug of Hashem. You're like, okay, I'm feeling this anxiety. I'm really, really scared. I'm really, really worried. And Baruch Ato Hashem, Baruch Ato Hashem, Baruch Ato Hashem, all the time. Baruch Ato Hashem. Bring down you, Hashem. Right into my presence. That's how you flip a feeling with another feeling. If you're feeling the anxiety, don't stop the feeling. Let the feeling run its course for a few minutes. Feel it. And then say to the feeling directly, I know that Hashem is with me. And I'm not going to solve the problem. Don't try solve a feeling with an intellectual answer. Oh, it's okay because the world's not really falling apart or whatever. I'm feeling very scared. Hashem, can you give me a hug? How do you get a hug from Hashem? Well, in the morning when you wake up, you want to daven. You want to spend some time thinking about the awesomeness and might of Hashem and how powerful he is and how much he loves me. The whole davening is supposed to bring out those two feelings. Hashem is amazing, he's awesome, he's unreal, and he loves me. See that statement up there? Read what it says. You know where that comes from? It's a pasuk. You know where the pasuk is from? No one? After Vayishlach. It's Malachi, the last prophet. Chagai Zechariah Malachi. He says, Ahavti eschem Amar Hashem. Hashem says, I love you. And you want to think about that. You want to think about the might of Hashem. The whole davening is all filled with thoughts about how much Hashem loves us. And that's what you want to feel, that Hashem just loves me. So go back to how Mordechai davened. He felt that Haman wanted to kill us. And I feel anxiety of everything. So he goes into shul and he asks Hashem to help him. He doesn't just say, I'm going to do the work. Hashem, please. That's part one of davening. And then he doesn't stop there. He doesn't walk out of davening feeling that, oh, I'm lost. He walks out of davening with an absolute, utter 100% surety, confidence, and conviction. Hashem is with me. How do I know that? Because I asked the three little kids. And then he tells us, for the rest of history, here's how I want you guys to daven. Here's how I suggest you daven. I suggest that you feel Hashem's presence in your life. But the way to feel it is not intellect. Well, it's also intellect, but it's bringing the intellect down to emotions. When you feel the emotion, the way to counter the emotion is by feeling the hug. A hug is an emotion. That brings out an emotion, rather. So, try it out. When you daven in the morning, you spend that time thinking about Hashem's presence all over. You get to Shemona Esrei, ask, Refainu, feel his presence, Baruch. Ask, Baruch Aleinu, feel his presence, Baruch Atah Hashem. Tkah b'shofar, Baruch Atah Hashem. Every time, bring down Hashem. How do I bring down Hashem? When I, in my mind, feel that Hashem is here. Every moment. Hashgacha pratis means Hashem is right here. He didn't create the world 5,700 years ago. How old is the world? How old? Close? What? Okay. I'll give you the real answer. The world is...
Oh, it's today.
It's 1 second old. That's how old it is. Because every day in davening we say, "Mechadesh v'tuvay b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh," creates the world every single second.
Why do we count years?
What?
Why do we count years?
The first time he started creating. He's been doing it for 5,782 years. But how old is the world? 1 second old. Brand new. Because Hashem is right here. Why can't I see him? Because Hashem gave me the power to think about him. So, I mean, there's lots to talk about davening beyond our conversation now. But the first thing to get davening not to be so boring is to realize there's something to do in davening. What to do is ask, feel his presence every time. Ask him to do it, and then you do it. And you know what the Yetzer Hara is going to tell you all the time? Oh, that's so not true. Come on, such nonsense. Like, how do you know Hashem's going to be with you? He says, and he puts doubt into your mind. What's a doubt in Hebrew? Safek. What's the gematria of Safek? Amalek. Good. He's the guy who's attacking Mordechai. So Mordechai says, I don't bow down to nothing. What's Mordechai? All of us, every single one of us believes in Hashem. We believe in Hashem. You know what the Gemara speaks about? You ever heard of a ganva apum machtarte rachmana kokare? The Gemara says a ganav is about to steal. But he's a Jewish ganav. He's a thief, but he's Jewish. What would you do if a Jewish thief about to steal? What kind of prayer? He says, Hashem, help me succeed. You're like, but you're stealing. He doesn't realize if you believe in Hashem, then you don't steal. Who's that ganav? All of us. Because we believe in Hashem, but we still do things that are anti-Hashem. That anxiety means you don't feel Hashem. That means Hashem is not real. And it's the most amazing opportunity to you. So it's not that you're having anxiety versus Emunah. It's that anxiety is inviting Emunah. If I feel anxiety in me, there's a space where Hashem is not present. What do you want to do in that space? Bring Hashem down. Okay, so let's summarize what we've learned so we have a practical something going on. What we want to do is like this. The purpose of davening is because the world's very, 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 very scary. Lots of scary stuff going on. Davening is not just to say it, to feel it, to get to talk about it a lot. And yes, you need to understand the words of davening. And feel constantly Hashem's absolute presence in my life. The more you daven, the more you feel His presence. How do you daven? There's two parts to davening. What's part one? Ask Hashem to help him. He does the work. What's part two? Bring him down. Which one do you think is more difficult? The first one's easy because He's Hashem. He can do whatever He wants. What's the second part? I'm scared. The second part is so difficult. The second one's the one that you're really going to have a difficult time with. Because all the time, that little Amalek's going to say, oh, come on. And you're going to say to Amalek, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. When there's resistance, that's where you can bring Hashem down. I'm feeling anxiety. Hashem's here. It's so tough. Telling you now, you can learn about this, and everything you learn goes right out the window as soon as you feel that anxiety. But if you try, and if every day in davening you get yourself used to it, and you finish davening, you go, Altir and Pachak Yisayim, and you're talking to yourself, don't be afraid. It's okay to be afraid, and then after you're afraid, feel Hashem's presence. And what happens to you over time, if you keep doing this, is it's actually quite fun to have anxiety. It's amazing. Every time you feel it, you're like, whoa. And you look at yourself and you're like, wow, I'm feeling it now. And you're like, Hashem comes down and I feel Hashem's presence. And you know what happens? Watch this out, okay? I'd love to hear if anyone tries this out. You'll see a miracle. You will create absolute miracles, okay? But the miracle is like the Purim story. Because it's not like a miracle that you see, you got like a Kriyas Yamsuf. What happened? What was the miracle of Purim? What happened? Right, nothing happened. But everything happened. The most amazing miracle, the only miracle I say is the most amazing miracle. You know what the most amazing miracle is? Hashem is going to operate through you. Wouldn't that be amazing? You become a Navi. Okay, not Mamish and Navi, but close. What you're going to be is a human being who brings Hashem into this world. And I guarantee you success. Not day one, takes time, but I guarantee you success. Here's what's going to happen. You will every time, not in a second, by the way. Don't try. I did no anxiety, and now I feel Hashem and it's all good. No. But wait a few minutes, like 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, you'll see. Anxiety, like what anxiety? You'll be like, what? What was the problem? I don't see any problem. All of it will disappear. And then it'll come back. And when it comes back, it's just to do some more work. And it's okay. What you want to do is have fun. And just enjoy the ride. So I'm done with my formal side of things. But if anyone wants to, what do we do? Questions, answers, or just what should we do? If anyone wants to go, go. And if anyone wants to ask or whatever, happy to think. Is that helpful to anyone? Do you feel that might work? Like, why would you say it's helpful? What would you say is the key in this? What?
It's to keep reminding
You're not
yourself.
You know what?
You're not just like thinking.
It's
Right.
reminding yourself to bring Hashem to the situation.
It's like giving you some homework, right? And you're like, I don't want the work, but it's amazing to actually have work to do. Because it's like, okay, now davening is real. And I'm going to tell you something else. David HaMelech in Tehillim, he says, what a great pasuk. He says, Va'ani, what? Va'ani tefillah. What's that in English? I am a prayer. No, you're not. You're praying. You're not a prayer. I'm a door. I'm a table. I'm a tefillah. Why are you a tefillah? What do you think he means? Huh? David HaMelech says, you want to know what a Jew is? A Jew is like what is a Jew? He's one big tefillah. You don't just daven in the morning. It's like all day. Oh, that's what I do all day long. When you get to become Jewish, when you feel Jewish, all day long, you're davening. Not asking Hashem to do the work. All day long, hey, that happened, I feel Hashem. You're about to give a speech this way. You feel anxious, what do you do? Feel it. I need to feel it. Hey, Hashem, please help me. Feel him down. David HaMelech just did it all day long. The whole day, he was just davening. Every single experience of his life. Nothing happens that's bad. Bad, change it over, make it good. So he says, I'm just davening all day long. That's all I do. Right? It's like a great thing. Okay, who wants to ask like another question or whatever? I'm done if anyone wants to go. Don't feel, no pressure at this point. Amazing.
How do you know I have a balance of stars and
How do you know what?
I have a balance of stars and
How do you know how to balance the Untitled Chapter? So your question is basically, when should you do stuff? When should you not do and believe? Great question. Because sometimes Emunah prevents you from doing things, right? Basically, someone who believes in Hashem, what does he do? He stays put. I'm not doing anything. It's all good. Right? The answer to the question is, if Emunah stops you from doing something, then you're using Emunah as an excuse not to do. Right? Whenever you're using Emunah as an excuse to not do something, that's when it's the opposite. I want you to do stuff. But you know that in Parshas Vayakal, the Torah doesn't say Sheishes Yomim Tavoy. There it says Sheishes Yomim. What? Which word? Tase? I've used a slight variation of Tase. Tease. Very good. What's the difference between Tase and Tease? Work will be done. Sheishes Yomim Tease Melacha. The way to do it is like this. I trust Hashem. I trust Hashem completely. I have nothing what to worry about. I don't need to do anything. But I'm not scared of doing anything. If you're scared of doing something and you're saying, oh, Hashem is with me, I don't have to do it. No. Hashem says, I want you to go do it. I want you to go do what's hard and what's difficult. But don't do it in a way that you think that it's you doing the work. It's being done. Like, you know what the worst possible thing is? I'm sure nobody has the issue. But you know, people today, you'll post something like on the worst thing to do on WhatsApp. Nobody answers.
so great.
What? It's like, oh my, that's like probably more anxiety in the World War. Like nobody said cute, gorgeous, amazing, delicious, right? Like, what do you mean you didn't say? And you're always expecting everyone to just like say it, right? That causes anxiety. The way to do is to say, I put out my post. And you know what ishtadlus means? Don't look. I did my thing. I don't care what happens to it afterwards. Work more and you'll be bitachon. That's what it means. Work more and you'll be bitachon. Because you're not gaining anything from 4,000 likes. You know what you really gain? What?
Self-esteem.
Self-esteem is 4,000 likes or 1 like? Imagine someone, a friend, calls you up and says, that was amazing. It's the most unbelievable thing in the world. What do you got? 4,000 random nothing likes from whatever? Or one friend? One is much better than 4,000, actually. Right? So it's about flipping the mode. The answer to your question is, Emunah should never block hishtadlus. You should do all the hishtadlus, even when you have Emunah. Just don't worry about the hishtadlus. Put out the thing and let it go. Don't look to see who liked. I don't care who liked. Yeah.
What if it's a person who, like, when you're with them, they like give you like anxiety or like, you don't want you to.
If a person makes you feel anxiety?
Yeah.
So the question is what to tell them.
What to do?
Can I play it out for you?
Like, let's say a teacher.
Right? So a teacher walks in,
Or a principal.
right? Okay. And they make me feel anxiety when they walk in.
Not anxiety, more like angry. You don't like anything they say.
Right. So would you say because is it right or is it wrong? It's wrong, meaning it's not the thing that I have, right? It's not the thing that I have.
What things I have on you as well?
I'm saying, are they in the wrong or me in the wrong? What do you think? In the case?
I obviously there. I think they are, but it could be I.
Right. So there's 2 ways to do it. Sometimes you can get out of it, but as a principal, usually there's nothing much you can do.
Right.
Right. I mean, sometimes you can leave.
And
Sometimes you
I'm
can't.
for 2 years. So
What?
I can't get out of it for a long time.
Right. Right. So what does it feel? It feels like, right?
Like I want to scream.
Right. And I can't. I'm powerless. Okay.
And I know Hashem brought them into my life, obviously, for a reason.
Right. That's
To
tough.
like test me, but so why should I just be quiet?
Well, if you scream, what's going to happen?
I'll get down.
What? Maybe then you can. So you're feeling that, let's take a look at this, right? So there's someone out there on some level with someone. Right. Well done. So what's wrong? What's the problem? You're feeling anxious
And then I keep it inside until I leave, let's say that class or that person, and then I just let it out in some other ways that are not good.
Right. Now, maybe the solution is to be honest.
What, to teach it?
Well,
No, I don't think so.
I mean, first of all, to your friend afterwards. When you come out of the place, go with your friend and say, can I scream at you for a second? I mean, not at you, but I like really scream because I'm really mad. And ask for permission to scream. Wouldn't that help? Like, instead of telling your friend, everything's bad, just ask for permission and say, listen, I really, really feel bad. If you want, you can say why. If I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling really, really upset. And you tell them, if you're the best, if you can tell them, I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling very, very anxious. And then listen, when you tell someone how anxious you are, it takes away half the anxiety. You ever tried it? Just by talking to another human being, and if 2 neshamas listening to one conversation, it takes away 90% of the problem, right? And then you feel Hashem is with me. What's going to happen is, slowly but surely, the anxiety will go away. And then, when the anxiety goes away, and there's no negative feeling at that person, you'll actually be able to go over to them and tell them what the problem is without any animosity. See, the reason you can't talk to them is because I'm feeling upset at you, so I can't talk to you. But if I'm not feeling upset because I got rid of my upsetness, then I can actually talk to you. And then you'll be able to address the issue. In other words, you can't, I hate you because I don't like the way you look, so what should I do? But maybe it's the way you talk to me or ways, whatever, Or you could say, listen, I just want you to know I really get anxious when you scream at me. And if you're
You can't write a letter to the principal or the teacher? No. I had to with my 11-year-old. Sorry. I had it with my 11-year-old, and I, suggested him speak to the teacher, and he said, he hooks it. So I told him to write a letter. And he wrote a letter, I'm scared to talk to you because I might be close to the kid, but this and this is what bothers me. Can you help me? It doesn't have to be a long letter, but you could write to the principal or the teacher,
Meaning, is it something legitimate that's there, right? Or it's just like
opening up a conversation is very important. I don't know if you mix in your parents into this. But, I followed up with 11-year-olds, so I followed up with the principal and teacher. The old-time teacher, so he was there on the sort of authority there. I have certain standards in school, and I was like, this is not okay, we don't talk like that to kids.
biggest problem is when it's feeling, because then you won't be respectful, right? And it's hurtful. And they're very respectful, and there's no ill feeling, and they ask you, help me. Might work. But very powerful thing you share there, because right, those are real feelings that we often have. When you work through them, you grow. So real growth takes place. Amazing. That's it. Everyone solved all their problems. Amazing. Yeah.
What happens if it's like a thing that you're scared of? Like you get like real anxiety from something. Like how you bring Hashem that not like logical that like anytime like that thing comes here, let's say like a gong or something. Like anytime it comes here, you just get like moved or anxiety. Like how do you bring Hashem into your like thought process?
So every time you see a dog, well, first of all, I mean, sometimes you should be afraid of a dog and get out of it.
No, I'm just saying like a puppy.
Do you know what's amazing? I come from Africa, right? So, they said there's like they do like safaris. Sometimes you go in a car. Have you ever met a lion like 5 feet away? What would you do? Most people would run. Stand still and he says, make eye contact with the lion. Yeah. And stand in front of the lion and just stare him in the eye like that. And this is a ranger telling me. And if you feel the fear, the more fear you feel, the less chance you have of survival. So I'm like, okay, great. You know the story of Daniel, who was thrown into the lion's den? Right? So what he did wasn't actually miraculous. He was just a godly person, and he walked to the lion's den, and he saw the lions, and he felt scared for a moment, then he felt Hashem's presence. Hashem is with me. He looked at the lion and he said, lions have no power over me. Only Hashem has power over me. If Hashem feels that I must be eaten by a lion, then Hashem's going to want to do it. But it's not the lion that's doing it, it's Hashem. And he stared the lion in the face without a trace of fear. So you know what the lion saw? Hashem. He saw a human being with Hashem in him. I asked the guy, I said, so no animal knows this? He says, no. Every animal, you ever see, like, what does a lion do? He goes after a deer, and what does a deer do? He turns around and he runs away. So the lion sees a piece of meat, flesh, you eat. If you see meat, you eat. If the lion sees a piece of meat, he chases him to eat. If he sees a human being, he's scared. Lions are designed to be scared of humans. Dogs are the same thing. The first thing to do, if you have a fear of an animal, is to become a human. It doesn't take a second. This is a lifelong work. And it ain't easy. And what's going to happen is you feel scared. You see the dog, right? Let yourself feel it. And then in the moment, do ba'ani tefillah and feel Hashem's presence of it. Hashem, help me feel Hashem's presence. And you try it, and every time you get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And just stand for a moment every time, another moment. And then you're right away. For a moment, look the dog in the eye. He's gonna come lick you all over, right? But just stand in the eye and say, this is the one in control. I just want to say, this is not easy. It's not like this is, and then you conquer your problem. It's not easy. It's just that this is what Hashem wants of us. This is what it's about. It's about bringing Hashem down. Like, we are unbelievable people, but we have to do the work. Dogs are one of those things that we're scared of. Try to do the work and see what happens. You were gonna say?
If somebody does something wrong to somebody else, with somebody else, so you feel anxious saying it to somebody, so how do you know who it is? So like rationalize and feel good. Like how do you know who it is? Just listen.
If you hurt someone,
Yeah.
how do you feel good about it?
Yeah, I feel bad. So instead of like, let's say if I was the person stuff was bad, I want to feel good, so I'll rationalize and like, you're right. Instead of having to come to that, you know,
Amazing. So what you're saying is, I hurt someone, and I'm feeling very
you made a choice. It was like that. It wasn't
right.
a dog you see on the street that like you judge the choice to see or not.
Right. It's like, it was my fault. I hurt you, and I did something wrong. So it depends what you did wrong. First of all, some things you can't do this with. But let's say in a normal situation, you just hurt someone, right? The best way to overcome anything, same as the dog or the lion, where you look him in the eye, right? Best thing to do is to look the problem in the eye directly. That means get crystal clear about your feeling. How do I feel that I hurt this person? So let's just say I spoke Lashon Hara about a friend, right? And as a result of me, the whole class heard, and everyone, the whole school heard, and she's now in a mess, right? What's the best way to get around it? Go over to her and say, what? What? I'm sorry. What is that?
Not gonna help it. You still.
I'm sorry, okay, but you ruined my life. Like now everyone knows, whatever. She's right? And you know she's right. Before you go, think how right she is. And you come over and you say, not just I'm sorry, spill the whole truth. I'm sorry. I spoke Lashon Hara about you. And I want to come say I'm sorry. And I feel like it's ridiculous to say I'm sorry. Because how dare I even come over and try to apologize after I ruined your life? Like, because of me, everyone was talking about you and the whole thing. And I don't know where to bury myself. Like I'm feeling pashut. I'm shocked at myself. I don't know how I could have done this. And by the way, heaven help if you're not genuine when you say it. You got to be honest. Think before what you feel. If you get down to the true, honest feeling of how you feel, and you walk over to your friend with a genuineness, if it went out of the heart, it will enter the heart. If it didn't enter the heart, it didn't come out from the heart. You speak for real, feeling to feeling. Not I'm sorry, but crystal clear what he's sorry about. If you're sorry and you don't think the other person's going to accept the sorry, then you're not really sorry. You come over and you face the whole thing like this. It's the same idea, right? I feel the anxiety and I bring Hashem down. Ask and I bring Hashem down. If you go over to someone, you say, I'm sorry for you, and you fully own up, and you say, and I know this, I don't think there's any way I can really rectify it. The English translation of Emunah? Emunah in English?
Believe.
What?
Believe.
Belief. But what's belief in Hebrew? What does belief mean? Do you know what belief means?
I trust you.
Faith and belief are two English words. I don't know what they mean. Emunah? What's an uman?
Amen.
What?
Amen.
A what?
Amen.
Amen, yeah.
True.
True. What does it say Mordechai did to Hadassah? He was? Omen. Omen? Like Emunah? And Oimen is an umnus, is a craft. Your Oimenes, Mordechai raised her. The person who raises a baby, holds the baby like this, and gives them a feeling of love, that's an Ummah. That's an Oimenes. Emunah means a feeling of Hashem's love. That's Emunah. It's not belief. Belief is dogmatic. I believe. How do you know? Emunah means I experience Hashem's presence like a baby, a 2-year-old feels mommy. That's Emunah. Can you imagine what a 2-year-old feels about mommy giving a hug? That feeling, that's Oyanis, that's Emunah. When you say, Amen, I feel Hashem. That's how you have Emunah. You go to your friend and you put the whole thing out. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I apologize. And don't just say it, like really apologize. And I hope you can find you out to forgive me. And I really like everything there. That's the Emunah coming down. Emunah in action. Try it out. And by the way, all this stuff is all good theory. If you don't actually put it into practice, you know what's going to happen to it? It's going to stay Dvarim B'Teilim. The definition of Dvarim B'Teilim is words that are abstract, that remain aloof. It's ideas that need to be implemented. I'd love to hear if anyone succeeds in actually implementing them. Send a message. All right.
Thank you so much.
That's all, everybody.
Thank you so much. It's really